150 pounds. I have lost over 150 pounds. That doesn't even feel real to say, dude. Like, what? I have proof, though. Here's a picture of me when I was weighing 375 pounds. Isn't that just insane? I feel like I don't even look anything like that anymore. While I do feel that it was a lot of factors that contributed to me losing a lot of weight, I honestly think I owe the most to gaming. What? Gaming? I thought diet and exercise were what you needed to do to lose weight. Gaming? Well, yeah, it is, but I'm not someone who's particularly motivated all the time, and gaming is what kept me motivated. I took my escape from reality and turned it into a motivator to change my life. You can laugh all you want, but the results speak for themselves. Again, the picture, and I'm happy, so that's really all that matters. Today, I'm talking about how video games saved my life, both mentally and physically. There's gonna be timestamps in this video if you want to get to specific points, but I do think the story is best told from the beginning. However, it could be a bit of a long video, so I will be timestamping the chapters if you just want to hear a specific part. Otherwise, this is how I used video games to change my life. For as long as I can remember, I have always used video games as a way to escape. Whether it be the turmoils of real life or just some stressful thing in school, I would play a video game. That's just how I coped with stuff. You could say I was an epic gamer. I remember even being really young and still turning to video games when I felt overwhelmed by even the smallest stuff. Unfortunately, I felt overwhelmed a lot as a child. I didn't always have the most stable childhood growing up, and I am going to leave a lot of details out, but I do want to go ahead and share this. From a very young age, I was someone who struggled to socialize and connect with people. I struggled often. I had anxiety over everything. Any task that was given to me usually just felt too much. Like, I would be really young and I'd be told to do something, and I don't know why, but it would just come off as too difficult for me. Usually if I had to interact with people, even if it was just my family, I would often feel anxious, and if I would meet new kids, I would feel anxious. It was a big problem. I really struggled. One of the things I think I struggled with the most as a kid was understanding the concept of fiction versus reality. From the youngest age, I felt bored by the real world. I was almost devastated by how boring our world was compared to the fiction I was seeing on TV. I didn't want the world to be as boring as it was. I just wanted more escape. It was pretty apparent in my childhood that I was a very different person. I was a very different kid. I wasn't a normal kid. My family definitely noticed, and they tried pretty hard at the start to make a real connection with me. I can remember bonding with my sister over SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom, a game her and I religiously tried to 100% on our PlayStation 2. I loved SpongeBob, and the fact that I got a video game based on a cartoon that I was already obsessed with as a kid, it made me feel like I was actually in that world. And that's when I first started being like, hey, maybe video games are the best escape for me. And that, it was like a double-edged sword, because I would be playing Battle for Bikini Bottom and I would just becoming more obsessed with it, but I was also happier. I was like 5 years old, living out a fantasy that I was in Bikini Bottom. I was in the SpongeBob world, and it made me feel at peace. It was one of the first times I ever felt this feeling of like peace. It really calmed my anxiety down, but at the time I wouldn't have known that it's anxiety, so it was not something that I could really look into more. I'd also like to point out that mine and my sister's copy of this game had a bug in it where when we tried to get the last spatula in the game from Patrick, he would just spawn a non-existent golden spatula, and I cannot prove that this glitch happened, but I swear it happened, so we had a 100% save file that was not actually possible to 100%. I am still not over it. That is probably why I have 100% of the game like 500 times since then. Reflecting on that now, I definitely started feeling less anxious while playing this game with my sister, just because I felt like I had control over something that as a child I would have never been able to really point out or understand. It's not something I didn't understand. I needed control of the situation at the time, but that's something that comes later. I was feeling excited, and I didn't have this sense of like fear looming over me. I would start replicating what was said in the games, and it would give me talking points to try to talk to people. It definitely made me feel at ease. I was like, oh, well, if SpongeBob can say this, so can I. I did know in the back of my mind, though, that these were just games. I was inevitably going to grow up and face more life experiences, whether I wanted to or not. I was told left and right, you're going to outgrow video games. You're not going to play play them when you're an adult. That was something I just needed to understand. So I did what any normal young child would do. I suppressed my feelings about that instead of talking to anybody about it. When I started attending school, I attempted to connect with the other kids through my love of video games. I mean, kids love video games, right? So that had to work. Yeah, no. I was just really not lucky with my school choice. I went to school in like a really small rural town of Southern America, and so it was kind of a gamble on what kind of people I would be going to school with. And to this day, I am very jealous of people who went to school and got to share their love of Nintendo games with the fellow kids at school. You know, I got friends that say they played Pokemon with other kids in school. That would have never happened for me. My school was full of kids who did not take kindly to Nintendo gamers. I do not understand the logic behind it, but that's just the way it was. In fact, the only game that was acceptable at my school to like was Call of Duty. I really don't understand why a bunch of middle school kids had such an elitist mindset with what people want to play games with, but it was ridiculous how they treated other kids who just did not play Call of Duty. I remember sitting in class and the teacher asked us to name our favorite fictional character, and I naively raised my hand and said Mario, and the entire class started erupting in laughter, and I got picked on for a long time after this. That stuck with me because I was young, and there's no way around it. I was straight up bullied for enjoying Nintendo games. So from there onward, I just got picked on all the time. You know, I'd be walking through the schools and the kids would go, "Hey Tyler, you play any Mario today, huh?" Like, that's some fucking insult. What sucks is I wasn't strictly a Nintendo fan. I had a PlayStation 2. I had an Xbox 360. I liked other games. I just liked Nintendo games. Is that a crime? It affected me for a very long time, and it's something I won't ever forget, of course, but it doesn't necessarily bother me now, but for a very long time, it really hurts to be blunt. So that was what I decided. You know what? I'm just gonna hide it. I'm just not gonna talk about it at school. People don't like me if I'm myself at school, so I'm just gonna stick to myself and not talk about it. We jump ahead a few years. Things in my life have certainly got more unstable. I'm definitely going through the motions at school at this point. I'm not really talking to anybody at school because they're not nice to me anyway, so whatever. I don't want to talk to them. I would just go to school, come home, and play video games, which I'm not sure is the healthiest thing for a kid to do, but hey, that's what I did, and I turned out all right. Except this video is all about how I wasn't healthy, and that I ended up becoming healthier later. We'll get to that. I really didn't talk to many people. I talked to some people in my family, a really close family member, you know, and then my immediate family. So I just had a lot of time to play games. Around this time, I developed this kind of ritual that I would get into. You see, there's this game I love called Luigi's Mansion for the Nintendo GameCube. I'm sure you've heard of it. I'm sure everybody's heard of it. It's one of the greatest games ever created. Yeah, I did a ritual where I was just playing through that game every single day, start to finish, which, I mean, if you've played the game before, it's not that long of a game, but that's still a bit unhinged that I felt the need to play it every single day, and that includes catching all 50 boos. I don't 100% know what my thought process was behind playing Luigi's Mansion every single day, but I think it wraps back to needing that sense of control. I didn't feel anxious about the game because I knew everything that was going to happen in the game. I know the game like the back of my hand, so there was nothing that could really surprise me about the game, and I think that just made me feel at ease, given how unstable everything else was. It was just this sense of sameness. I did play other games too, but Luigi's Mansion was definitely one of my most played games for about a year there because I just wouldn't stop playing it over and over to have this sense of normalcy in my life. I do still adore this game. It's one of the most satisfying games to play. But I always do think it's funny when I replay it now. I will always think about the year where I just played the game at least 100 times. By the time I got to high school, I had not realized my internal struggling had started to show externally at first. I still kept to myself a lot with the thoughts I was struggling with and just the feelings I had about everything. And I started to show that by putting on a lot of weight. What really proved that to me was when I flew to see a family member that I was actually really excited to see after a while. And the first thing they said to me was I looked like I had put on a bunch of weight. And that didn't feel so good, man, because I know I did. It was something that I struggled with really bad. I know. All I did was play video games, eat, and try to hide from the world. It was not a healthy mindset or a healthy lifestyle. I was on pure survival mode, doing anything I could just to keep it together. And words like that stuck with me. I was 14, probably over 300 pounds at the time. I mean, what my family member said wasn't untrue, but it sure sucked to hear because I looked up to this person a lot and it just felt like they thought less of me. I never really paid attention to what I was eating because, again, I didn't care. I was just trying to play games and survive, which I'm sure you could tell by watching this video. but it wouldn't be much longer until I would eventually get diagnosed with major depression and anxiety disorders, which definitely contributed to the weight gain and the social issues that I was going on about. Something I reflected on in my adulthood is that I started flocking to video games because I felt inspired by the games and by the worlds. It was basically the closest thing I felt like to doing something, which I didn't know was not a normal feeling for. I thought everybody just felt this way. Nobody told me otherwise. My priorities had changed a little bit in high school. You know, I was still playing games, but that was when I found One Piece. And you know me, big One Piece fan, so I spent a long time just binging One Piece and kind of used that as my mental healing for a while. So games kind of took the back burner to that. And I kept putting on weight. Still struggling to accept reality. That's not a thought that ever went away as a child. You know, the thought where they're like, oh, fiction versus reality is something that you just got to get over. I don't know why I didn't. Probably not a healthy thing. No, yeah, if anything, I doubled down and just was more disappointed that we didn't live in a fictional world. Honestly, I said I was playing games in high school, but there was one game I was really playing all the time, and it kind of took over my life for a few years, and that was Minecraft. And do I gotta sit here and tell you what Minecraft is? Does anyone here not know what Minecraft is? Do I even need to sit here and convince you how good Minecraft is? It's like the best-selling video game last time I checked. I'm pretty sure it still is. Minecraft was a game changer for me because I was able to connect with a community of friends for the first time in my life. People who did not make me feel less for liking what I liked, and people who did not judge me. I'm very grateful for all the people I talked to as a teenager playing Minecraft online. Shout out to the people in rural Southern America that kept telling me I was talking to a bunch of predators. No, I wasn't, and now you people believe AI-generated images, so what the hell? I'm somehow not surprised that the people that thought I was talking to 50-year-old predators online are the same people who share AI-generated Facebook photos of, please help me, no one loves me because it's my birthday. So, whatever. School sucked. High school was awful for me. I never paid attention to my physical or mental health, and I barely tried in high school. Miracle, I graduated. Hated the structure of it and hated everything about it. And it was definitely at this point in my life when gaming was a double-edged sword for me because I was escaping everything from it. I was just playing games all the time, and I was not doing any responsibilities that I should have been doing at this time. Yeah, I was neglecting everything, but it was also probably the only thing keeping me going at this point. Stuff was just a mess in my life. Right after graduating high school and becoming an adult, just barely an adult, it felt like gaming was all I had. By the time I was 19, both of my parents had passed away, and my sister had gotten married and moved out, and so it was just me. I was thrust into adulthood extremely underprepared, and I just had to wing it pretty much every single day. I think this was the point where I finally got up to 375 fucking pounds, dude. I'm 5'8". I don't have a lot of pictures of this moment because I did not like how I looked, so I'm sorry if I'm just using the same one over and over, but I cannot believe I let myself get to this point. I got some real bad health issues from it, that's for sure. I didn't care. I just didn't care anymore. Why should I have, I thought? Because I had lost almost everything in my life, and I did not know what I was doing, so whatever is basically my mindset. As a graduation gift to myself, though, I did purchase a PlayStation 4 and a copy of Persona 5, and I did not know that decision would alter the course of my life forever. If you've watched any amount of time of me at this point, I feel like you know I'm very influenced by media and the stories they tell. So when I tell you Persona 5 was one of the most influential stories of my life, I cannot understate that. I played Persona 5 constantly as a way to just kind of cope with loss that I had dealt with in the last few years of my life. I played this game fresh out of high school, and it takes place in high school, so when I finished it, I felt immense jealousy that my high school life wasn't like the Phantom Thief. Not like, I wish I could have went and killed demons, although that would have been sick. I do wish I could have went and killed demons. No, I wish my high school life was just more sociable. And that's something I couldn't change. But you know, that's okay. The game made me feel so many things. I felt okay. I felt like this was good enough. Not really. Not at all. You know, I felt this was at least a taste of that type of life that I never got to experience. Even if it's fictional, I got to experience something that I thought I was never going to experience. It hit closer to home than it probably should have. I spent so many years around shitty adults everywhere. I felt really connected to the idea of making grown adults who abuse their position of power apologize and face the music. It's something that always longed for as a kid, especially when I would report stuff at school and nothing would get done about it. Kind of a frustrating experience, if you ask me. It felt like the game was talking to me. It felt like it was telling me I was not alone anymore. Just because I felt alone, I wasn't. I was going through a really bad mental rut before I played Persona 5, and when I finished the game, I definitely felt inspired to just kind of pull myself out of that a little bit and try to move forward. Maybe I should take some of the socialization that I saw in the game and use that in real life, not replicate the lines said like I did when I was very young, but try to talk to people and just have genuine conversations and connect with people. I gotta say, it was pretty horrifying to be thrown into adulthood just with no preparation at all. Definitely at the time thought I could handle it, I had almost bit off more than I could chew, and I did not realize what I was getting myself into. I did not realize how hard it was to actually live alone, even as somebody who had always self-isolated like me. I lived in a small place by myself, just trying to make it each day. Wasn't really trying to do much else. I do remember around this time, though, of being thrust into adulthood. Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, and I had been waiting on Kingdom Hearts 3 for a very long time. Not as long as some other people, though. Oh, I feel really bad for Kingdom Hearts fans that have been waiting that long. I was still unbelievably excited for Kingdom Hearts 3, and it was kind of just what I needed at the time. I know this game gets a lot of crap, and it's not even my personal favorite Kingdom Hearts game. That would go to Kingdom Hearts 2. That game is mwah. But still, this game's great. This game's amazing. It's a lot of fun, and I am really glad I played it when I did. I went to a midnight release of this game. That was crazy. I waited in line. I was excited. I remember there was someone there that was also really excited, and he pulled out and hit a car, and then he drove off before the cops showed up because he just wanted to play Kingdom Hearts 3 that badly that he would commit crime to go do it. I picked up my copy at midnight, and nothing was gonna stop me from playing the game, except needing to work at 8 the next morning, so I went home and went to sleep. But when I got home the next day from work, that's when all bets were off. I got off work, I popped that sucker in. I think I had a 3-day weekend or something, and I just binged the hell out of it. What a beautiful game, even if the story's a mess, and oh my god, it was a mess. But it was my mess. I love it the way it is, although I could have used a few more Disney bosses. This is not a Kingdom Hearts 3 critique video. I'm gonna shut up now. I felt like this game being the last game in a almost 18-year-long saga of games, starting with Kingdom Hearts 1, was kind of representative of my life. This game being the end of a saga that was started all the way in Kingdom Hearts 1 kind of made me feel like this game was bringing about sorts of closure that the series needed. And even if it wasn't going to bring closure to the series, it was closing the door on a part of my life that had been there for a long time. I had been invested in what's going on in Kingdom Hearts' lore for a very long time at this point. And while playing it, I was beginning to reflect on my life again. Something I tried not to do because of suppression, but you can't suppress all your feelings no matter how hard you want to. I just couldn't stop thinking about how Kingdom Hearts 3 brought closure, and how I just kept being like, maybe I need closure in my life for things that had happened the past 19 years. So I did what any Kingdom Hearts fan wouldn't dare to do. I got a therapist. Yeah, I said it. Kingdom Hearts 3 made me seek therapy. And if you clip that clip out of context, I might have some very angry people in my comments. Please don't do that. I had seen therapy before, but this was the first time I think I was actually honest with a therapist, and I had confided with them that I had been influenced my entire life by fictional media, and that I sometimes struggle to accept the difference between reality and fiction because I'm just sad at reality. To my surprise, I was actually met with pretty warm reception. I was told I was not the first person they'd ever heard be like this, so that was nice. I don't know if I'd ever met anyone that was like this before, at least anyone that had told me they were like this. So it was nice to feel I wasn't crazy, which yeah, in retrospect, of course it wasn't crazy, but do you think I was in a normal headspace? I also finally got medicated for that tricky chemical imbalance I got diagnosed with a few years earlier. My therapist also helped me with the fact that I was told all my life that I'd outgrow video games, and the fact that I don't have to listen to that. And that's just not true. I was also starting to realize just how stupid and outdated that take was. I mean, I get it. It comes from the mindset of people who the only video games they ever saw were like the Donkey Kong arcade machine, but they did not come from a time where video games just kept evolving like they have through my life. I couldn't imagine living a life without playing games now. I did get a lot of that closure I was looking for, a good amount of it. And I was starting to be myself. I was really grateful for the experience I had. I started socializing with people a lot more again. Started socializing with my coworkers. I even met my partner, who was very accepting of who I was pretty much from the start. start. The end of 2019, things were feeling stable. I was feeling good. Like I could face anything. I don't think anything could have put a wedge through that. Fuck. Yeah, things got kind of weird in 2020, huh? Let's fast forward to the end of 2023. So much has happened in the last few years. I went to college. I was working multiple jobs during the... I had to do my college classes online in that last semester. That shit sucked. But hey, in 2020, I married my partner. I was generally doing well mentally. I think I was probably doing the best I'd ever had mentally. Despite everything, I was feeling great. I was still very overweight, though. It was just not something that I really paid attention to. I basically spent all my time making sure my mental health was okay and not a second on my physical health. Which, in my defense, college is hard, and so was existing as an adult every day of my life. So I am proud of myself for making it through some of the time, okay? You know, it's fine. The end of 2023 had come around, and I had decided to go on a hike with my wife's family. I liked hiking. I was actually just getting into it because something I thought to myself was maybe I should start taking hikes to start losing weight. That's something that's definitely needed in my life. I was definitely aware of my weight being an issue still. It just wasn't something I was doing a lot of effort to. Well, on this particular day of the hike, it was a little wet outside, but whatever. So what? A little rain isn't gonna stop me. God, I wish it did. So we were on top of this mountain, and I decided I wanted a better view. And so I went up to a spot that swept me off my feet. Yeah, I was walking towards this mountain area and I slipped on some moss in just this perfect way that shattered my entire fucking leg as I went down, and holy shit, that is one of the most painful experiences of my life. I shattered my entire leg. As I fell and felt the bone break, I was like, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. That couldn't have happened. And then once the pain kicked in and I started screaming, I thought to myself, hey, this probably wouldn't have hurt so much if I'd spent any amount of time just working on my weight and not dropped over 300 plus pounds on my broken ass leg. I want to say I fell at like 330 pounds. Ow! This was by far the most excruciating pain I'd ever been in, and it took the ambulance like an hour and a half to get to the top of the mountain to get the paramedics up there, and then they had to carry me down, so it was a long time before I got medical attention. I fucking broke my leg in like 7, 8 spots, I don't know. I got a bunch of screws. Doctors did confirm my fear that the break was awful and my weight contributed to it quite a bit, which sucked to hear even though I knew it. It's like, damn, my weight was already giving me health issues I was ignoring, and now it's giving me some physical issues. I gotta stop. I gotta do something about this at some point. That's something I said a lot. I gotta do something about this at some point. I don't know why I'm like this. I don't know why I like to procrastinate, but it's something that I would always put off. But now I couldn't put any fucking weight on my legs, so what was I gonna do for the next few months? I think it was literally 3 months before I could put any weight on it. 3 months post-surgery. I had a lot of free time now, so I spent a lot of it playing games, watching TV, and crying. Just kidding. No, I'm not. Yeah, I had a lot more time to play games. And all I can say is, thank God it was in 2024. Stars and planets must have aligned and given me a little bit of a break. And was like, hey, you're gonna go through some suffering, but at least it's gonna be through one of the most stacked years in gaming history. There was like 1 billion releases in 2024. Astrobot, Balatro, Mario Party Jamboree, the new Sonic Shadow Generations, a remake of the best Paper Mario game, and so much more. It was so unbelievably overloaded with a backlog, I could safely say I was not bored. Might have hurt, but I was not bored during my recovery process. There are 2 specific games to me last year that really helped with my recovery process. It helped me have proper self-reflection, and I think it helped me really decide later is now. So those 2 games here are, of course, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth for the PlayStation 5, and Persona 3 Reload, a remake of Persona 3. Both of these are very long JRPGs. You can easily get 100 hours out of both of them. In fact, I did get 100 hours out of both of them, I'm pretty sure. And I played them back to back. Yeah, so these 2 games were my games of the year last year, with Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth just slightly taking the edge over which one I liked better. You know, absolutely this game blew my mind 100,000 times over. I'm a massive fan of the Like a Dragon series, and I've nearly played every single one of them. And this one might be the best one. These games are just so much. They're a crime drama at their core, but not really. You're really just there to do all the side content and connect with the characters, and before you know it, the side content brings you down a rabbit hole of this side plot line where you're suddenly doing all this crazy stuff, and the next thing you know, you're crying over the characters involved in the side content because you're so connected to these well-crafted stories. These games are all about the characters, and I don't want to get on a massive tangent, but to me, these games at the very core are about self-improvement and moving on. At least that's how I interpreted it. Please don't hurt me if you disagree. So when Infinite Wealth was announced to have duo protagonists of both Kiryu and Ichiban of the previous games, I was sold immediately. I had the context of over 7 games and hundreds of hours of these characters, so I was hooked literally right from the bat. Of course I'm down for this. And you know what? I was also someone who really liked when Yakuza switched to a turn-based JRPG. I love that genre, so I was just so sold on this game. Some light spoilers, just a heads up. The game had me face the reality that a character that I had connected with for so long was possibly going to die. Like the other games, Infinite Wealth is very character focused, maybe even more character focused than the previous games, because I think the story definitely took a backseat. The game gives that character an option to explore their bucket list, which really hurt. Again, I had the context of all the games. And in more recent years, I had started thinking about what my bucket list would be too. I know, I'm young, I don't need to, but it's hard to explain. I just have anxiety and fear of that day. And I was thinking about it a lot then because of how much pain I was in and just how scared the experience was for me. I shouldn't have been thinking about stuff like that at that point. But trauma's a funny thing now, isn't it? Persona 3 Reload, on the other hand, is not a game that's just about wacky adventures of the crime lords. It's a game about death. I had already experienced Persona 3 before on the PlayStation 2, and I loved it. Huge Persona fan. We talked about this. But I'm one of the people that thought Reload was even better. It was basically Persona 3 with some modern Persona charm to it. I was not able to stop playing this even though I played it immediately after beating Infinite Wealth. I was just like, yeah, I'll do another 100-hour RPG. Let's go. I was loving it. I loved seeing all the stuff that was remade. Yeah, I was obsessed. I was not able to stop despite knowing exactly what was coming. I've played the game before. It was a wonderfully crafted remake. Except for selling the answer epilogue as DLC for like $40, that's not fucking cool. I still haven't bought that. I probably won't ever. I think the answer's unnecessary to Persona 3's perfect ending anyway. While playing this game, I actually remembered those feelings I got with Persona 5. I hadn't felt those feelings in a while, so it was a little shocking to me to have that just kind of resurface. I also was spiraling again because I wasn't able to walk around, so I wasn't in the best headspace, and I was starting to feel like I was just like, why wasn't I normal growing up? Why didn't I live a more normal life? I was getting envious again, just all around, kind of pulling myself back into that mental space that I did not want to be in, and that's the opposite of what I need to be doing right now. I really just wanted to be more like Ichiban from Infinite Wealth, just an outgoing, wacky, not afraid of anything dude. And I really wanted to be like the protagonist of Persona 3, and I think it was because, you know, I couldn't walk, and these games were so cool, and I was just pretty bitter at the world after snapping my leg. So then I got to the credits of Persona 3 Reload. With that ending scene, I don't wish to spoil it for anyone who hasn't played Persona 3 Reload, but just so you know, when the credits started rolling, I just bawled relentlessly. I mean, the ending itself was sad, but I was letting out a lot of emotions that I think I'd been suppressing for years that just finally came out in that moment. At the time, I felt like I had just wasted my life up to that point, which is ridiculous because I'm 26 years old. How could I have wasted my life yet? And I just got into this mindset of, was I just playing games and gonna waste away forever? Why does it have to be this way? But I kind of had an epiphany while watching those credits and just letting out those emotions. Games were not the issue. They were definitely not the issue, especially not in this situation. They were simply my excuse for everything. I realized in that moment, the thing I was always trying to escape from was not just the world around me, but rather I was trying to escape from myself. I'm the one who shuts myself down more than anything else. I'm the one who is too afraid to approach people out of fear that they would make fun of my gaming taste. I'm the one who's talked myself out of making videos for literally years based on fear of how I'd be perceived. I'm the one that always causes problems for myself when I don't need to be. It's like I had this unnecessary self-destructive behavior that I was not in control of. I did realize though I'm the one who could fix it too. I did think that, you know, If I caused all these problems, then I could be the one to fix them. And I think the experience of playing both Infinite Wealth and Reload back to back while at such a low point in my life was just the kick I needed to realize that. Games are genuinely special in different ways for how they brought out different emotions in me. And I am forever grateful for my experience with them. I will probably play them again. And even if I suffered some extremely painful moments while experiencing those games, they're both some of the greatest games of all time, and I owe so much to their existence just because they exist. I knew after beating those games that it was time. It was time to stop living in a sense of self-hatred where I just hated how I looked and hated how I was, and it was time to start healing and helping myself work towards where I wanted to be. And I could do it even if I needed to ask for a little bit of help. I've said repeatedly in this video that I just needed to accept the difference between fiction and reality. But I don't know if I've ever used that mindset appropriately or viewed it appropriately even. And let me explain what I mean by that. Yeah, I'm aware these games are fiction. I'm aware of the difference between fiction and reality. Yeah, I'm never gonna go and explore a dungeon and kill a bunch of demons, and I'm never gonna do tricks on an Uber Eats bike in between trying to stop an international scandal of gigantic proportions. But that doesn't mean I can't take the lessons and themes of the games and actually apply that to life to kind of make life more fun to live through. Hell, the entire Yakuza series has Kiryu wanting to be better and moving on from his past. Literally something I've wanted to do my whole life. I always wanted to move on to the past I was holding on to, and it was always just like this difficult task for me. But you know what? If I want to inspire my life around fictional characters, I'm gonna remember what my therapist said, and I'm gonna unapologetically do it. Oh, and do it I did. Did it I dude? Did it I did. Huh. That's when I started brainstorming. How could I keep these habits but change my life? And so I decided to start making a game plan as my leg was finally beginning to heal and I was ready to start getting back into the groove of life. I had been sitting down for literally months. It was time to start doing things. So I made a deal with myself. I needed to form healthier habits and I wanted to keep playing video games. So I started matching my gaming time to exercise time or to just trying to improve my health in general. You know, I would just write down how long I played a game for and then I would make up for that in like a walk outside or something. That was how this started. Let me go ahead and say now what I'm about to talk about. This is not medical advice. I'm not a doctor. You probably shouldn't do exactly what I did or go as hard as I did. But this is what worked for me and how I finally got my shit together, basically. I'm just someone who does stuff in extreme ways. That's just how I am. That's why I went really extreme, trying to match my time one-to-one with gaming and being healthy. I quickly formed a routine where I would start going swimming while listening to some video game music and then, you know, come home, play games, go on a walk for the time I played games. It was a pretty unhinged way of exercising and living, but it was how I lived for a little bit. I was being really strict on myself and trying to just lose this weight that had been a friggin' issue my entire life. Especially days when I'd go for a swim, though, I would reward myself at the end of the day with like a longer gaming session, since swimming was a very intense exercise. But unfortunately, I live in an area where it gets so damn cold, you can't tell the difference between Fahrenheit and Celsius. I think it got to like -52 at one point. So I couldn't just go outside every time I wanted to exercise. That's what my wife told me. She saw a treadmill available on Marketplace for a low price of absolutely free. Okay, seriously, someone just gave this thing away on the only condition that we had to go pick it up ourselves. I think it weighed like 500 pounds. That's fine, that's fine. You should check your Marketplace if you want a treadmill. You'd be surprised at how many people are just giving this stuff away, or any exercise equipment, really. This thing was a game changer because now I was capable of setting myself up in a position where I could set the treadmill at low speed and like watch TV or something. Yeah, watching TV while working on the treadmill is pretty cool, but I have a Steam Deck, so I wasn't using this thing that much when I first got it. Admittedly, I didn't actually even see the appeal to it. I got it when I broke my leg because I wasn't able to get on my PC that much. And then when I got this thing set up on the treadmill and started walking and playing games at the same time, I was like, oh wow, I do see the appeal. And I think the reason I didn't get it at first, I just didn't leave my house enough to need to play something portably. I got giant screens in my house, so I don't really know why I would have needed this, but thank God I have it, man, because wow. Walking and playing games at the same time makes way more of a difference than you'd think just by getting your steps in. It raised my endurance, which is one of the hardest things to do in exercise, is having good endurance and stamina. It was a little hard to play games at first on the treadmill, but I think that was more to my own anxiety of not wanting to let go of holding onto the treadmill for one side. I just didn't want to slip and break my leg again, but I got the hang of it after a while. This became a full routine of mine, and after a couple months, I had really started to see myself in a much more positive way. I noticed I was starting to slim down, and I was honestly starting to feel better too, something that I didn't even really consider when I was just massively overweight. Which again, I'd like to say that's crazy I didn't consider that, considering I'd seen a doctor and literally they had told me like I had actual health issues from my weight. But, you know, denial is a river in Egypt. I think it helped that I was getting compliments from people I knew without telling them that I was even doing this. They were just like, wow, you're looking great. Or wow, you've lost weight. And that goes a long way. That felt really good. I didn't like going out and doing things because of just how big I was. I feel like I was claustrophobic. Just I took up so much space and I didn't want people around me. And I was just always uncomfortable and I was having a bad time. And I started feeling less like that as I started to slim down and feel better. You know, it didn't clear my anxiety. That's not really how that works, but it definitely kept it at bay and toned it down. I started to feel less like I was being stared at every time I went out, which is a sad reality. When you're a rather large individual who's on the shorter side, you're gonna get stared at a lot. And it's not a great feeling. I do attribute some of that to my own anxiety, but it is the sad truth that people do stare. And honestly, when I started losing weight in general, people started treating me better. I don't know if people just have a subconscious hatred for overweight people or fully, I've seen, you know, maybe just fully conscious. I've seen some people do not like overweight people. And if you're someone who treats people worse just because of how they look or just because they're overweight, I'd really like to ask you to reconsider, just because we're all human. There's a lot of factors that get to where we are. For example, my parents never taught me the value of health, and I drank soda all the time, and I never looked at calories or anything. And I ate as an escape. So we don't know what people have went through, and it's not appropriate to just tell people to, I don't know, like the kids said to me in school, to eat a salad to lose the weight. There's so many factors to it, and really it's none of your damn business. But I know I can't get through to everybody on that. Moving past that tangent though, after months of consistency, I was finding myself in the best physical shape I'd ever been in. I was reaching new goals for myself left and right. First, it was 10 pounds lost, 20 pounds lost, 30 pounds lost, and then before I knew it, I had lost over 110 pounds since I had started tracking my weight in September of 2023. This means from my highest weight of 375 pounds, I have lost over 150 pounds, which is something that had started to sink in with me recently. And like I said at the beginning of the video, it doesn't feel real to me. I lost a bunch of weight because I wanted to keep going, and what kept me going was playing video games that inspired me to keep going. Yeah, I'm doing all the things that you're supposed to do. I'm exercising, I'm eating well. I do not think any of this would have been possible if it weren't for the games that inspired me. And when I saw that I'd lost over 150 pounds, I knew I wanted to sit here and tell my story about how I had health issues and I was 375 pounds and I had a fatty liver, and doctors just didn't have high hopes for me, and I destroyed my leg, and now I'm sitting at 220 pounds and I'm doing a lot better, and I don't have a fatty liver, and I'm like, things are feeling better, and they're feeling brighter. And my favorite thing to do is to tell people when they ask, how did I do it? I'm like, video games, bro. Like, that's what kept me going. Here's the sweater I was wearing on the day I broke my leg. It was a 4X. As you can see, it is just eating me alive here. And if I show you this picture here, here's me literally stretching this sweater out to its limits on the day I broke my leg. Probably gonna keep this as a sign of where I used to be. And also, it's a nice sweater. I got it for like $2 at a thrift store. Kind of a shame that I can't really wear it anymore. So then that brings us up to now and where things go from here. I'm gonna keep sticking by the claim that gaming quite literally saved my life, both mentally and physically. I explained already how it helped me physically, and I think you can already understand how it helped me mentally through lots of times of isolation. But where does it go from here? Well, to be honest, I still have a long way to go in my own personal journey. I'm at 220 pounds now, and I still would like to lose a good 50 to 60 more maybe. So I joined a gym and started really increasing my workout routines just to keep things interesting. I generally try to eat as clean as I can to maintain a healthy lifestyle. And to me, this isn't a challenge anymore. So I don't feel the need to continue to be as aggressively strict on this anymore. And I don't need to take as extreme measures as I did at one point. This is not just a routine, this is my life now. This is how I enjoy it. I couldn't go back to the way I was living if I tried. Most fast food makes me sick now. I don't really like to drink a lot of soda because it makes me sick. Like a lot of that stuff I cannot go back to. I feel changed. I don't need to do this challenge because I love to work out and I love to do all this stuff now. And I want to kind of go back to a more normal relationship with games. Because the negative to that challenge was I would absolutely stress myself out trying to keep it 1-to-1 if I had not worked out enough or if I had played too much or just something like that. I would stress myself out, and that's not a healthy way to do things. But I'm really glad I took this approach because I have tried to lose weight before in my life and it never worked. I was also going extra aggressive for a while because I really wanted to start making videos for this channel, and I came at a crossroads. The videos I want to make have to have my face. That's just who I am. That's just how I am. But I was not camera ready. I felt disgusted with myself. I did not want to be on camera. And that's not me shaming anyone's appearance at all. But I hold myself to a ridiculous standard that's unfair, honestly. Straight up, I didn't know whether I was able to handle the comments at the time. I can definitely handle it now, because anyone who insults me now has no idea that I've lost as much weight as I have, so like it doesn't hurt me now. And I know I'm gonna keep losing weight. I know that this is my life now. You know, I kept it a little vague, but I went through some health scares and I don't ever wanna have to feel that again. So yeah, this is just my life. I don't fear falling back into those old habits. The mental game is always a little bit more tricky, you know. I do what I can to keep myself feeling good, which is why I'll never give up playing games ever. There are so many games coming out this year, so I'm sure I'm definitely going to use my old habits from this challenge just to get to them all, because I have no idea how I'm gonna play everything on my backlog, plus the new games this year. I probably won't. Let's just be real, I probably won't. I also really want to get into indie games too, so let's go ahead and add games to my backlog. You know, if you got any indie game recommendations, please give them to me, you know, because I've been obsessed with Balatro. I loved Corn Kid 64, Cavern of Dreams, and playing stuff like that. That's a lot of fun to play while you're exercising. We've also got the Switch 2 this year. Oh my god, I'm excited. I used my Switch a little bit on the treadmill, but honestly, my Switch is at like the end of its life. I've been holding out for a Switch 2, and I'm excited to use that. Oh my god, I'm so excited to use that. That's gonna be so much fun. There's gonna be so many good games on it. I got checked with a doctor recently. Health's in pretty great condition. I am gonna keep working at it. There are too many damn games to not want to live a long time at this point. I don't know how I'll get to them all otherwise. Plus, I gotta see how One Piece ends, and I'm not sure if that show's gonna end in 2028, 2029, or 2076. So it's really a gamble there. And I really hope I can look back at this video in like a year or two from now and just see how much progress I've made from here. Because when I look at myself a year ago, the progress is unreal. I am feeling bright about my future. As much as the world does not want me to be right now, I am still going to get positive about my life, damn it. I'm gonna show myself of the past that it was worth it. I became better, I feel better, and I'm not the person I used to be. While at the same time, I'm somehow still exactly that person. I would like to extend the most heartfelt thank you I can if you've gotten this far in the video, or if you've watched any part of the video at all. I cannot state how much it means to me that you took the time out of your day to watch this. This is a video that I found a lot harder to make than the other ones I've made so far. I started at least 3 or 4 scripts before this one that ended up being scrapped, and then I had this one sitting in the back of my head just completely eating at me. And then when I started writing it, it just kept going. I had at least 4 or 5 times where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna end the video soon. And no, I just kept writing, and I still left stuff out that maybe one day I'll talk about. It was one of the hardest videos for me to make because of how vulnerable I have to be too, but I wanted to get this story out. I needed others to hear it, if for no other reason than just to say it, but I'm really hoping this story reaches somebody and inspires them. And if you wanted to make a change like I did, that should be completely up to you. Do not think that you have to do this to be accepted. I think it's ridiculous. The mindset of having to accept people based on if they're overweight or not is ridiculous. And if you've ever struggled with something like that, you're not alone. You are not worse as a person. That's all I can say. And I just wish more people had told me that. And that's why I really wanted to go ahead and say that to you today. I'd also like to thank all of my friends online throughout the years who have supported me and encouraged me to start this journey. Without them, I might not be the same person I am now. I'm in contact with some of my very first friends I ever made, and I will never let them go because they showed me what real friendship is like. And huge, the biggest, the massivest shout outs to my wife. Love her. She has been with me through so much and has probably been my biggest supporters to keeping me on track with my lifestyle. So shout out to the wife. Love her. And lastly, I'd like to thank the me of 10 years ago who kept on going through some of the worst turmoils. I know that at times it felt like I wasn't gonna make it, but I'm so glad I did. I know I'd be proud of myself now. Well, this video has spiraled absolutely out of control. I've got like a 3-hour recording session here, mostly because I've had to stop and take care of animals the entire time and shit keeps falling. But it feels like a massive weight off my chest has been lifted now that I've made this video. Once again, thanks so much for being here in this video. I don't know when my next one's coming. I've already got the script working on it. It's possibly another big one. Who knows? I only make videos that manifest themselves, so they just come out when they're done. If you liked everything, I'd really like if you would do the algorithm things. You know, you subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment, do whatever you want, and then I will give you more clips of my cats, like the one you see right here. What? You don't like cats? Okay. I don't know why you wouldn't like cats. Haven't you seen these guys? They're so fucking adorable. I love them so much. Yes, I do. You're so